Alright, continuing with our project, let's make those rectangles that appear as a transition. Click on our rectangle tool. Choose this fill color, 46A397. Press OK. Double-click on the rectangle tool and we've created the shape layer with the rectangle. Press Enter to rename and I'll name it Rectangle 1. Go to the rectangle measurement options and you'll see that it's been created the same size as the composition. Remove the little chain and set it to 240 wide by 1080 high. Why 240? Remember that our composition is 1920 pixels wide, and in this case I'm using 8 rectangles. If I divide 1920 by 8, this makes 240. So that's why I've made it this amount. Now I'm going to change the color of this layer, so the project is nice and tidy, and I'll name it Lavender. And now we'll start the animation. First of all, we'll place it right here on the left and modify the general scale of the whole layer and the scale of the rectangle. Go to the transform options of the rectangle and add a keyframe to scale. Then we'll also go to the transform options of the general layer and add a keyframe here too. Press U and you can see both scales. On the lower scale, go to frame 12 and click to create another keyframe. At the beginning, we'll do the following. First, remove the chains from both of them and put 0% for the height. But if we do this, see that the height depends on the anchor points being in the middle. But I want to reduce the height quite a lot based on this point from the point. So what we need to do is select the general scale and then the pan behind tool to move the anchor point to the bottom. Okay, now when we put 0% for the height of the scale, it's based from where the anchor point is. Let's go here to the scale of keyframe number 2. This needs to be at 100%. And now we can see it. Why have we created two scales? What the independent scale does is, when the rectangle is complete, this scale will make the height decreased based on an anchor point placed here at the top. Now click again on the other scale independent from the rectangle and you can see that the anchor point is in the middle once again. So with the pan behind tool, place it at the top. Now move this keyframe of the independent scale up to frame 7 and go to frame 18 and place the next keyframe. At the beginning, obviously this needs to be set at 100%, and at the end, repeat what we did for the previous scale. Put 0% on the height so it goes down, and now see that it's doing it from the anchor points. Preview. Now it seems that the rectangle goes past and disappears. Select the 4 keyframes. Right-click, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. Preview, and now you can see it a bit better. We'll use our Easy and Whiz plugin again. Select both scales and Easing Expo, type out, apply. Let's see what effect we get. Preview, and it's looking good. Now we'll duplicate the rectangle pressing Ctrl D, and we need to modify the position. Press P and see that the x-axis is at 120. If we add 120 plus 240, we get 360, so we'd have both rectangles. Place them like this, adding 240 to the position. Ctrl D to duplicate and P to get the position. Add 360 plus 240, and now we need to put 600. Okay, now as you can see, we have our 8 rectangles, what occupy the whole space. Obviously, as the keyframes are in the same position, it looks like the rectangle occupied takes up the whole composition. So we'll select our rectangles, select the first one and press Shift and click on number 8 so they all get selected. Press U to see the keyframes and press it again to hide them. Now we'll do the following. Select from rectangle 2 to 8, zoom in a bit on the timeline and move every 2 frames. Drag up to frame 2 and unselect rectangle 2. Press Ctrl and click to unselect. And do the same with the rest. Preview and see how the transition stands out. Select all the rectangle layers and go to frame 18, dragging them like this. Press Alt and with the scroll wheel on the mouse, you can zoom in and out on the timeline. Click on this option here, which is Toggle Switches Modes, and with the layer selected, set the mode to Overlay. Finally, we'll cut the parts we don't need of the rectangles. Select the layers, press U. Press Ctrl Shift D to cut and delete to get rid of it. Now press U to close or hide the keyframes, and now we can see those transition rectangles, ellipses and explosions. All that's left is to create the animation of the curved lines.